Moving on to topic number 3, and the Olympics are coming up this weekend. Opening ceremonies, I believe, are on Friday night. But like everybody else, the Olympics, they're still dealing with the pandemic, and over in Tokyo, it's running rampant. It's not a good situation over in Japan right now, especially with the new variants of the pandemic of COVID-19. And there's a lot of players, even a lot of players from the U.S., who are either not going to compete in the Olympics or are out for a couple of weeks because they've contracted COVID-19, including Katie Lou Samuelson, who played for UConn for a long time, a female basketball player who's going to be in that 3-on-3 team, that new tournament that they're doing. And then also Coco Gauff had to pull out of the tennis side for the Olympics. Kara, I think it's Aker, who was a gymnast for the United States. She had to pull out because she contracted COVID-19. So there's a few more athletes that have been in COVID protocols that haven't necessarily tested positive. So we're going to keep dealing with this with the Olympics, especially with all this international travel that's going on. I think one mistake that the Olympics committee made was to not have like a 2-week space in between the athletes getting there and the game starting. Brandon, what do you think is going to happen over the next few weeks at the Olympics?
Yeah, I think that like 2-week quarantine period would have helped out, like you said, because it doesn't seem like they really have any kind of protocols when you first come into the country besides getting tested. And then if you have a positive test, then you're quarantined to the side in hotels that they have set up. But right now, man, honestly, I'm a huge fan of the Olympics. I love them. I was super excited for them last year. I'm super excited for them now if they do go on. But I think they're kind of, is a gray period. There's a gray area here now, and there's a cloud hanging over them right now, and it's going to be an asterisk next to them in history. I'm honestly thinking they need to be canceled. I really think they need to be canceled at this point, just within the COVID. I mean, yeah, you can call it a COVID bubble, but just within the Olympic bubble, they're calling it, where there's supposed to be, tight restrictions. There's already been 79 confirmed tests of athletes from not just the United States, from all other countries as well. So you have, a lot of people that are supposed to be within the restricted bubble that are already testing positive. And then outside that restricted bubble in Tokyo and in the country of Japan, COVID cases have been on the rise 155% over the last week. So I don't know, man. There's still obviously a global pandemic going on. We're still trying to fight it. And, Tokyo's having a hard time really getting it under control. And I really think it's probably a safe call to shut it down. And I know a lot of people don't like hearing that, especially when you got all the athletes over there, and they might not do it because of all the money that's involved. But I really would understand if they just said, hey, there's too many cases going around. All we're doing is spreading it. And, all these athletes are going to have to go back to their home countries and quarantine for another 2 or 3 weeks, even when they come back anyway. But it's just, I don't know. It just seems like I said, there's a cloud hanging over this Olympics right now. And I think it's going to be continuing, because I think there'll just be continued tests. The longer they have these games going on with the Olympics and the athletes there, you're going to see more tests. It's gone up over the week from 60 to 65 to now 79. And I guarantee you by the end of next week, it'll probably be over 100 with positive tests just within the COVID bubble. So to me, I think you shut it down. You try to bring it back maybe in 2022 or 2023 through 2023. But you got to get this under control worldwide before we bring this back. And, sadly, this clip might not even get too much views because YouTube might even just kind of restrict even what we're trying to say about, COVID and the Olympics, because so many people don't like hearing it. But I just think, I don't know, man, I think it's kind of irresponsible right now. And I do think we need to shut it down and think about going forward in years to come. But another option I thought, which they could have done a lot earlier, to be honest, was say, and Tokyo was trying to do it. Tokyo was trying to boot the games and say, hey, man, give the games to somebody else and let us get the games a couple of years down the line. And the IOC said, no, you have to have it now or you won't get them a couple of years down the line. So then Tokyo said, fine, we'll go on. If they had said, okay, let's switch it to the United States. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, you're biased because you're from the United States. But guess what? We have the facilities already. We don't need to build any Olympic facilities. They're already here in Atlanta. They're already here in Los Angeles. All of our major cities are pretty much already set up to hold an Olympic game. And over short notice, guess what? The United States would be able to knock it out of the park. But it's too late for that now. So I just think they made too late of a call on switching to a country that is getting the pandemic under control a lot better than Tokyo. But hey, we love Japan. We love our Japanese fans. So I'm really hoping that their country can get the, COVID under control. And I just think for even the safety of Japanese citizens, I think the game should not go on.
Yeah, I mean, they've already eliminated fans from any of these events in the Olympics. They have to sort of follow the NBA bubble model and just keep everybody on site. Don't let them leave Olympic Village. And then the folks that are, working there as, working restaurants or cafeterias or things, they might have to stay there and not go home and stay in those spots in order to work those jobs. Because that's a lot of times what a lot of the folks did down in Orlando for the NBA bubble as well. A lot of the writers and NBA reporters and all the people in the media, they had to stay down there in quarantine before they were able to go out.
I mean, tough call really going on, but we'll have to cover this going forward because obviously the games will be going on for the next couple of weeks. So we'll talk about it certainly going forward on this show.